somehow, Planet Coaster 2 returned. I'm Squadalu. Welcome back to Squadaland, my Planet Coaster series, which was on hiatus for 6 months because Planet Coaster 2 was not a very good game at launch. But it's had a few updates, and I have just gotten back from a trip to California for Disneyland, Universal Hollywood, and for the first time ever, Knott's Berry Farm. So I was in a theme park mood, and with couple weeks left to go once I got back until Mario Kart World, I figured, hey, I got 2 weeks. Let's check out Planet Coaster 2 again because it's had some updates. There's still some issues with the game. We'll talk about that later. We'll also talk about some of the things that I feel about the game in general. But I figure I may as well just walk through the park first, kind of talk about what I have done since last time. But yeah, so I don't know if there's going to be another update to this series soon, because, well, Mario Kart World's going to come out. But I figured I might as well do a little bit of updating here. First minor update here is that I've replaced all the railroad bridges in the park with custom bridges that are just a little bulkier and have handrails, and overall I think just look a little better. Sure, people can just walk through these posts, because I wasn't going to bother trying to do a bunch of finagling to prevent that. So I'm just going to leave it as is, but I think it looks a lot better than the old default bridges. We're heading over into the sort of New England shore area because that is where I left off last time. It appears they still haven't fixed whatever is causing an invisible wall here. Okay, we'll just go around that. I don't know why. There's still, it appears, this is the first time I'm using the first person camera since all the updates. But yeah, it seems there's still some bugs with it. That's fine. In general, I'd say this game is much less buggier than it was before. We'll talk about it a little more later. But yeah, first things first. I feel kind of bad starting off with this because it's probably the worst thing that I've done since coming back to the game. The swinging ship is now open for business. Seafarer is what I have called it. Deliberately, because this park was never supposed to be an overly theme park. It's more an amusement park than a theme park. I haven't done much dressing up. I've decided to add some wood planks to the boarding area and whatnot. I tried to dress it up to look like a galleon. I hate the way it turned out. I also hate the way the default boats look because they have I don't know what the pointy bit at the front of a ship is, but they kind of have an implied version of that on both ends of the ship. So I tried to cover up the bulky one in the front and the one in the back with an actual cabin. I think it looks terrible. But they have recently announced the pirate theme is coming in the next update, so hopefully I'll be able to replace it. But yeah, just a very simple queue line, because again, this isn't like an Uber-themed theme park, so just some lights on poles and string lights and whatnot. Over here, this was in the last update, the Spinning Coaster Maelstrom, but I have finished off the area around it. There's now just another version of the sign over here. I ran it last time. There was a whole program thing with the sign where the lights were supposed to change and whatnot, to make an impression of waves and stuff. I just turned all that off because it still doesn't work, and I don't want to reprogram it anyway. Never looks that great. Although in the last update, lights now actually you can only turn on at night, which is fantastic. But yeah, just a simple thing to finish off this area. Sort of make a photo op if you walk up here for the big 90-degree turn on the ride, and whatnot. We have an arrow sign telling people that the actual ride is this way, because this is not the loading area. This walk along here has been changed slightly. This first one's not too different, but well, actually, we have a new little stand here, Seaside Sips, along with a little seating area out into the water, and a bathroom, because I felt like there needed to be a bathroom along this stretch. Very simple house. This was actually the first building I created since I came back. I didn't get too ambitious with it. Kind of just said, hey, it's themed if I say the New England Bottle Company presents in front of the word Seaside Sips. Sure, that implies theming in that this is a New England area. But yeah, just a little simple building there. I will talk about a bug that I have been having, which I would consider to be a minor bug. And some people would say, like, hey, why are you doing this anyway? Because whole rant about theme parks and priority access and everything. I found that priority access doesn't work on this ride, the like skip the queue priority boarding, and it also doesn't work on the log flume, and it seems to be an issue with ride vehicles that have low capacity. Like, eventually there will be a group that is too large to board the vehicle, and they will just never board the vehicle, and the priority access line never moves again. This is honestly probably the worst ongoing bug that I've had since coming back to this. But I wouldn't say it's that bad. And also, I feel like it's sort of this game in a nutshell. My feelings on it, where it's like, here's this really annoying bug. But also the game gives me the capability to get so granular with the theming that I just put out a rope and a sign that says, sorry, priority access isn't available for this attraction. And that solves the thematic problem of there being an empty queue line nobody could use. But yeah, same things over at the log flume. This is pretty much it for this area. I've deliberately walked this way, even though I've been trying to hide it, even though it's probably in the thumbnail for this video and the name, and you've already probably seen it a bit. Because if we walk this way, it's hard to avoid the single biggest change here, which is the entire new land of the park back there. Which is called Surfer Shores, along with the Surfer roller coaster and I think it's called a monsoon chute. I don't actually know. I think Vekoma makes those. I've never actually seen one in the wild. B&M makes the surfing roller coaster. So we'll talk about it while I'm on my way over there. So yeah. This area was interesting for me to build. Well, first of all, the roller coaster was interesting for me to build. Oh god, there's another invisible wall. I don't know what's going on there. This area was interesting for me to build because I've never been on either of these two types of rides. This is the first roller coaster model that I've built in this park that I have not been on, because there's only one of them in the world currently, and it's at SeaWorld Orlando, and I haven't been to SeaWorld since they built it. Pipeline Surf Coaster. So it was kind of a challenge to build because I don't know the forces that this ride pulls. I've just heard that it has airtime on a stand-up roller coaster, which is very weird and abnormal. So I have tried to incorporate not too strong of airtime into the layout, but some airtime nevertheless. Actually, before we get out there, there is also another toilet block with some vending machines here, because I realize that this area is very isolated. Canonically speaking, in terms of the history of this park, in universe lore, we'll say, my original thought was that this bridge and this area out here was a picnic grove, which is something that Six Flags Great America has. And then they tore it out, and this is canonically the most recent addition to this park. Although I will be adding another roller coaster to it, but in terms of the history of the park, this is its newest attraction. As such, you'll notice that the landscaping is a little unusual around here because there's a lot of dirt, which is just slightly tinted with grass, because the idea is they just planted the grass, but the grass hasn't really even had time to grow. I've also deliberately used much smaller trees. You may be wondering why I haven't used tropical trees, because this is clearly like a tropical area. In my head, this is in a location that is not tropical weather year-round. It would not support a palm tree. And so I've just decided to use just like small birch and European ash trees. Small because they're implied to be newly planted, and I've tried to deliberately space them a little further away from the roller coasters, just to give it space to breathe, because those trees will eventually grow. But yeah, so we're in Surfer Shores. Obviously, we have Pipeline Coaster. Not Pipeline, sorry. It's called Hang 10. Pipeline is the name at not Universal, SeaWorld. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Very similar to that ride, it does have a sort of curvy launch that goes down into the water. You saw it as it went by earlier, but it has fountains that are timed with the launch. It's actually not that popular, I think maybe because of its isolated location in the park. It's also technically no longer new as far as the game is concerned because it's been running enough that it's considered. I don't remember what the state after new is. It somehow has a completely empty train. That is weird. But we'll just watch it launch again from this angle. Launches directly over the path, up to 60 mile an hour. And up and over. The other new ride here, we have a warning for the splash zone on this path. I don't think the splash would actually reach the path, but in my head it does. The other new ride is on Tsunami. I don't know the real world name for this model, as I've said. It's basically a drop tower that drops into a big pool of water and splashes everywhere. If it looks a little weird from this angle and it looks like it's facing the wrong way, that's because on ride the view is much better if it's pointed at the rest of the park than if it's just pointed over at Hang 10 here. So I opted to turn it around, but also I opted to have a path go around the other way in case you wanted to look at the onlookers. But that path is also closer to the ride and you may get wet. It was a whole decision process. But yeah, so that's Tsunami. Hang 10, we'll ride it in just a bit here. I really like the way the station turned out. I wanted to sort of... a station that would reasonably be built by a sort of Cedar Fair Six Flags park. Although maybe it's sort of erring a little towards SeaWorld. Kind of, obviously the influence has to bleed in for this type of ride. Another inspiration was actually the monorail station at Downtown Disney in Disneyland, which is supposed to be like... it's not directly leaves, but it's clearly inspired by leaves kind of overhanging the station. Here it's sort of a impression of a wave. Actually, coming up is my favorite bit on the ride here. It comes around here, this camera angle I think just looks awesome, and as it comes by, splash comes out of the sign. That kind of came about by accident. I wasn't sure what to do with the layout of this ride, so I kind of just had this turnaround. And then as I was thinking where the queue line was going to go, I'm like, this would actually be a good spot for a sign. And I don't know, it just looks really like this is such a good photo op spot, I think, for this ride. Over here on the left, we have the Tsunami ride entrance. It's very understated because the giant sign is more the actual sign. On the left here, we have the Breakwater Bar and Grill, which utilizes entirely a brand new feature as of just a few days ago in this game, invisible paths. Yeah, there's no... once you reach this spot, there's no wooden path under here. I used entirely invisible paths, and then I just used the wood from the scenery here, and it just makes it all so much more natural for this type of stuff. I love it. It's a great addition to the game. You can have so much more flexibility with how the paths work. I just think it looks so much better this way. This seating area doesn't get used because they have added restaurants to the game, and I just realized these lamps are floating slightly. They have added actual restaurants to the game. However, for some reason, there's only 4 menu items, and they're like a very weird collection of menu items. A club sandwich, lasagna, a salad, and curry? I don't know why one restaurant would be selling only those 4 items, because they are 4 weird items for one restaurant to be selling, and you can't change them. And only restaurants have it so that the guests are coded to grab the food and then come and sit down on these tables. But hopefully in the future they make it more configurable, in which case I'll just rip out the burger and stand, because I wanted it to be a bar and grill, because I already had the name in my head. Trash can? No, the trash cans aren't. Oh, I wonder if these are floating, because technically the invisible path is slightly above the wooden floor, but that's fine. Usually you wouldn't see it from this angle anyway, so it's fine. Yeah, because the trash cans are doing it too. But yeah, so that is the eatery for this area. We're already over here, so I might as well just walk around this way. I didn't even consider how the rest of the park would look from this area until I was building this ride, and I looked over here and I said, like, sometimes I don't know how I've spent 170 hours just building a sort of Cedar Fair park, and then I look in this direction and I go, oh shit. I've built a lot, haven't I? Like, just looking at all the different roller coasters, you can't really... You could see it from on the ride. I can't really see it from this angle. You could technically see, oh, you could barely make out the inverted coaster's lift hill from here. But yeah, this is why I decided to make the monsoon chute point this way, because I just think this view is super awesome with all the rides poking out and everything. But enough fooling around. Oh, and from this angle, it doesn't look super great. But yeah, there's the tsunami chute. It's got the monsoon chute. It's got the tsunami logo and everything. Looks great. So we'll head on over here. Obviously, that ride just has a very simple queue and everything. I put a little cover closer to the station because I didn't want people getting wet until they were actually on the ride, even though that isn't a thing the game can handle. But yeah, let's go ride a hang 10 now. The queue line, I guess I'll go through the queue line. Wraps around here. You have these netting things, which the game refers to as catwalks, even though they're not catwalks. They're like nets to grab things. I don't know if the developers were confused why Pipeline Surf Coaster has them. And it's because it goes above a lot of paths, and so this catches any falling loose articles that people haven't secured from the ride as it goes over the path. I have quite a few of them on here because it does get pretty close to the path at times. I'm realizing this was a terrible decision because now I have to go all the way through this, oh, no, I don't. I can just walk through them. All right. So we're into the station. Again, I really like this station. It looks pretty simple. I don't remember. How do I enter? Nope. 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 Do I have to wait until it's available? All right. I got to turn on the interact. Get on. I couldn't figure it out. So I just went into the game settings and put me on here. We'll speed this up because it's got to wait for the thing to clear the block, and dispatch, and do all of its things. But yeah, so those nets aren't catwalks. However, right as I was trying to figure out how I was going to make catwalks in this game, Update 5 released and had the sci-fi theme included, which included a catwalk. That was perfect. Literally, like, the day I was thinking, oh, how am I going to do this? Yeah, that released. So that was great. Here we go. Go ahead and wait for the launch here. Apologize if you just heard some weird noises. I may have bumped my mic there. Go ahead, 0 to 60. I definitely put quite a few hours into trying to make this layout smooth, but not like 100% smooth, because I'm just not that good at this game. But yeah, I kind of just watched a POV of Pipeline Surf Coaster and was like, I could do some of that, and I want it to go back and forth a little bit, because it's like surfing, and you kind of go back and forth on the wave. I like the way it turned out. I think it's smooth enough. It's got pretty good forces, only 0.7 lateral Gs, pulls like negative 0.3 Gs, so you get a little bit of floater air in there. And you just come cruising straight into the turntable in the finish of the ride. And the good thing is I can now go ahead and just... We don't need to be in first person anymore anyway. So yeah, this is the new air... Oh, I forgot. Actually, I did kind of want to be in first person, but whatever. So we have the exit ramp going down to the Waveforms shop. It doesn't exit directly into the gift shop because I wanted to cover this. I built this. Keep selecting things. I don't want to. There we go. I built this maintenance shed first, and I realized I kind of wanted to cover it up. It was a little close to my exit path, so I built some trees. But yeah, this Waveforms shop. That glass at the top really took a while. I just realized you're not capturing my cursor, which I want to, because I'm pointing at things. There you go. Yeah, so these windows at the top took a lot, because each of these panes was individually placed. You could tell in some spots I had to, just to get it to be hidden by the roof, I had to sort of break the pattern a little bit. But yeah, it's just a simple gift shop because I felt like there should be a shop out here. Because it does seem like the guests now care more about shops than they did when I last played. Which is good, because they used to just literally never use shops ever. Originally, I was not going to have the train go this way. Because in my head, the the canon of this park was that the train kind of went right along there, right through the middle of what this area would have been. Maybe with some train crossings with the picnic area here. And I didn't want to reroute the train, but was having a lot of problems trying to get the layout of this roller coaster to work with the train going through it. So I finally just said screw it and rerouted it. Had no plans to put a station here, but then I realized the length of straight track here was perfect for a station, and also this was like the perfect distance on the railroad to put a third station. So very simple station. My inspiration was the Tomorrowland train station at Disneyland, which is basically just a cover as opposed to most of the other train stations in that park, which are actually like proper buildings. But yeah, so just very simple train station here. And eventually this will be a railroad crossing, which leads into the water park, which would have to be the next thing I build, actually. Technically, there is one more ride I'd want to build for the dry park, but it kind of requires me to build the water park because of the way it's going to wrap around it. But in my head, this is sort of the newest area of the park. It would be a new link into some of the newer area of the water park. And in my head, because you could visit both parks, they would let you wear your bathing suit onto the tsunami drop tower, which is why it's over here. You wouldn't be able to wear it throughout the rest of the park, but hey, so this is sort of this ride right here is kind of a half dry park, half wet park, ride. Not the roller coasters. They would not let you on the roller coaster for that. Sort of just my headcanon as to why this is all placed here. But yeah, that is the new area of this park. I love the way it turned out, honestly. I think this looks great. Let's talk a little bit. Oh, there is one other minor thing that I have done since last time. I have actually built a train station out here on the Sierra Trail. I had actually built this just before they put in the invisible paths, and it looks like absolute garbage. And then the first thing I did once they put invisible paths into the game was make the path along here invisible, and it looks so much better. But yeah, just a very simple train station, not much going on there. But yeah, so that is it for new additions. As I said, there's more bridges along here. That's pretty much it. I did just kind of want to talk about the game itself. It's gotten way better. I was skeptical at first, and I have put off coming back to this game for a long time because, to be honest, I'm not a fan of how they did some of these updates. For example, I think in Update 1, it was revealed that a bunch of the signs in the game were upside down, and they fixed it by flipping them all to their correct orientation. Problem is that myself and everyone had used those signs that were upside down, and they were all upside down again, so the first thing I had to do after relaunching this park for the first time in 6 months was spend 20 minutes flipping signs right side up. I feel like there probably should have been a way built in for the game to detect that the previous version this was run under, and then just flip those signs itself. And it also kind of made me go like, well, if that's wrong, what else am I going to have to fix when I launch the park? And so I just kept putting off coming back. But then I finally was like, I just had the trip to Disneyland. Kind of in the mood for this. Let's go ahead and play it. And it's much better. They fixed most of the problems that I had with building. The way it saves colors for your individual pieces as you're placing them. Fantastic. Great. Makes building so much easier. They fixed the bug that I kept having where the advanced move tool would randomly deselect the thing you were currently moving, and then that object was never selectable again until you reloaded your file. Great. Super happy that was fixed. The pathing stuff is great. The new scenery pieces are great. There are a few bugs. I mentioned the priority access queue bug. That is still a thing. If you've noticed, a lot of these fences look very plain, and that's because in Update 5, which just released a few days ago, they removed a lot of details on the fences accidentally. You can actually see here the dark spot where there's supposed to be vertical bars on this fence that aren't there. I consider that kind of minor, because I'm sure they'll just fix it at some point, so I don't need to worry about it. When I first came back to this about a week ago, the game was crashing like every 20 minutes. was my biggest problem. Well, 20, actually, it wasn't crashing at all until I started building the wave coaster. Then it started crashing every 20 minutes. There was no information about this online. People kept talking about an AMD driver. I don't have an AMD graphics card, so wasn't that for me. But whatever it was, it seems to have been mostly fixed in the update 5. I was going to say it's entirely fixed until literally right before I went to record this, the game crashed. So yeah, I won't say it's entirely fixed, but I've also been playing this for like 4 hours at a time over this weekend, and most of the time it does not crash, and it's not had a problem. The only thing I've had to consistently reload my save file for is kind of a weird situation where I've accidentally deleted the railroad while trying to delete a bush on multiple occasions. And it seems like when I undo that and reopen the railroad, it stops working. Like, guests just won't board it. Simple reloading of the file just causes it to work again. It's literally over a mile long, the railroad, so I can kind of get why the game would get confused about it suddenly phasing in and out of existence. But another feature that I love that they've added, the randomized size and rotation thing, which I guess it was in the original Planet Coaster, but it may not have been when I originally played it, when it first came out. This breakwater here in the Surfer Shores area has, like, I built this in 2 minutes. Like, using 3 of the rocked pieces. The colored rock pieces, which are also new. And I just click, 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 click. It randomized all those sizes and rotations, so it looked natural. Well, mostly natural, I'd say. Compare that to, we crowd across the park, the river rapids, which, by the way, they've also, in this latest update, changed the way water looks on water rides. It looks much better. But if you recall, this river rapids, I believe I said it took me about 7 hours to place all of the rocks along it. Now, it's a little unfair comparison because I was making sure they weren't in the actual water trench, which ended up paying off when they changed the water because it would have been super obvious if they were. But yeah, it would not have taken me... It's much better now, placing all those rocks with the randomized feature tool. But yeah, I would say most of my problems as a sandbox creator for this game have been fixed. They have added new content. I'm no longer ending sessions wanting to rip my hair out about the only thing that I've actually gotten mad at since coming back to this game. Pathing tool is still irritating to me. I'm sorry, I know it's more capable than the old pathing tool, and so I'm glad that it exists and I'm glad that it's changed. But making a simple switchback such as this over here, absolute nightmare. Absolute complete nightmare. And I know, like, well, you know, cattle pin queues suck. Just don't build them. It's like, yeah, but they're in theme parks. Like, I don't care that they are like shitty queue lines. Every theme park on Earth has them, and therefore I should be able to build them. And build them relatively easily. But I would also say that, like, you know, I don't know what the right answer is to that, because again, the pathing tool let me make this area, which absolutely could not have been done in Planet Coaster 1. But yeah, I would say this game, I've really turned a corner on this game, I think. I think they have done a great job. I'm actually surprised at how much more I'm enjoying it. I'm actually a little sad that I'm probably going to stop playing it for a while because of Mario Kart World, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be coming back to it sooner than I think. So here we go. Let's take a look at this area at night. I didn't get too fancy with the lighting. I just kind of lit up the roller coaster in certain spots. There, it just splashes right there. I'd say the most creative thing I did with the lighting in this area is there actually, you can't see it from this ground angle or any angle that the guests would be able to see it from. But there are spotlights on top of this building. just to give it a little sort of extra glow up there, and I think it looks very good. The entire launch track is lit, as well as the brake run for the ride for service purposes. That's pretty much it as far as like specialty lighting. Everything else, I mean, Tsunami has some extra lights on it to light it up. I did add a couple spotlights to the top here, but that's pretty much it. I do feel bad because, like, guests literally, as far as their AI is concerned, they have absolutely no reason to use the path in front of Tsunami because it's just long and pointless. But I feel like in an actual park, people would like come over here. I know in Planet Coaster 1 at some point they added photo spots where you can like set a spot that just says this is a place to take a photo, so then the guests will kind of just wander over to it even though it's not a functional location. I kind of wish they'll do that for this game too, so that way you can get some guests wandering over onto the bridge. But yeah, that is going to be it for this update. I don't know when the next update is. I'm hoping it's sooner than 6 months. Because, yeah, I'm liking this game. I'm liking this game a lot more now. So I would say, originally I went from, well, if you like sandbox games, maybe get it, but no, it's a rough time to, actually, don't get it under any circumstances. It's kind of a frustrating mess. I've worked my way back to, it's good. I don't know how the park management features, how good those are, because I don't do that in Planet Coaster. So maybe if you're concerned about that, I would do some research. I would do some research anyway. But yeah, no, I'm kind of switching to a positive recommendation on this game now. But yeah, that's it for Squadaland. Thank you very much for watching yet another of these long rants. I don't know how long it'll be. Hopefully it'll be soon.